Hello, welcome to the BMC Learning Series. Today we'll be covering MainView MVI Agent Installation and Configuration, Part 3. The configuration of Logger XX UBB PARM members presents several issues. Among others is the fact that the legacy MainView customer may already have one or more configured members and may be running multiple sets of log files. There are 5 cases to consider. New customers or customers who are not currently using MainView Logger Started Task are the simplest to deal with. Existing customers may choose to move their Logger XX members to the UBMC PARM library or leave them in their existing UBB PARM library or libraries. For new or existing customers who are not using MV Logger, Ozzy will generate a Logger 00 member configured to be the default logger. This member will be placed in UBM PARM, and the DBC will point to UBMC PARM as the location for this member. If you are supporting multiple LPARs in a sysplex using a single member, manual modification will be required. The top screenshot illustrates the skeleton member that Ozzy creates in the JCL library. The bottom screenshot shows the Logger 00 member as it's created in the UBMC PARM dataset after tailoring. This is done during execution of the $4.45 copy job. The manual modifications to the Logger 00 member to support multiple LPARs in a single Logger parameter member are shown here. The Logger 00 member is created from the skeleton member in the JCL library. This member will have either the SMS or Valseer version of the parameters, whichever is specified for the initial LPAR where Ozzy is executed. If different parameters are required on some of the LPARs, the parameters will need to be changed manually. Here's the opposite example. SMS parameter storage class is used on the initial system, but the other systems use Valseer. The $include MV member is generated with the DVA12LST parameter name. This parameter is used to complete the Logger 00 parameter member. But if you need to use the Valseer parameter on this system, you will have to change the storage class parameter to Valseer manually. Similarly, if the initial system uses Valseer and the subsequent system use storage class, the include member uses a different name for the parameter, DVA12LVL, which is a Valseer parameter. This time the Valseer parameter is in the skeleton member. To use storage class, the member will have to be manually modified. The Logger XX member supports sectioning by LPAR, so that different systems can use different parameter settings for variables within the same member. Ozzy does not support this capability, so if it is necessary to section the Logger XX member, it must be done manually. Because Ozzy can only create a single section at a time and overlays the members with each execution, you would have to rename each member or section out of the way to save it, then combine all the sections into a single member after they've been created. Otherwise, you can edit the member directly to create the sections. Here's an example illustrating what happens when you rerun the $4.45 copy job without renaming Logger 00. The contents of the member are replaced and only one LPAR setting, the most recent one, survives. This is how a sectioned Logger XX member looks. In this case, we want to use different volumes for the log sets, and there is no system symbolic we can use to allow a generic setting for the Valseer parameter. Therefore, a section is required for each LPAR, in this case SND1 using the SND014 volume for its log set, and SND2 using SND017. The upgrade of the logger functionality to the DBC was designed so that the customer could continue to use their existing Logger XX members. These have been located in the UBB PARM dataset. However, Since the DBC is part of the global infrastructure, it expects its parameter members to reside in UBMC parm. If the customer has a single UBB parm library with unique logger XX members, it is a simple matter to copy them to the UBMC parm library. If there are multiple UBBM parm libraries which contain like-named members, then those members will need to be combined into a single member, since the UBMC parm library is a sysplex shared library. This can be done with system symbolics if naming conventions are good, or using the sectioned approach where each LPAR will contribute one section to the eventual combined member. Here's an example where there's a single UBB parm library, which is already using system symbolics. If the single UBB parm library is using sections, it can also be copied directly to the UBMC parm. Here's an example where there are two UBB parm libraries, each containing a logger 00 member. These can be copied as sections into a single logger 00 member in UBCM parm. It is also possible that the sections are identical, except for values which can be constructed through system symbolic values, such as ampersand sysname and ampersand sysclone. By using system symbolics, several individual members may be able to be combined into a single resultant member. Here's the combined member in UBMC parm using sections. Here's the same member using system symbolics. Customers can keep existing logger XX members in their current UBB parm libraries. Since the DBC expects its parameters in the UBMC parm, it must be redirected to the existing UBBM parm libraries. This is done through the parm DSN parameter of MVI XX. If there are multiple UBB parm libraries, for instance, one per LPAR or one per PAS, which contain the logger XX members, either the libraries must support specification by system symbolics, or multiple MVI members will be required. Here's an example where there's a single shared UBB parm dataset for the sysplex. No changes to the logger XX members are required. Here's an example where each LPAR has its own UBB parm with a regular naming convention using system variables. If the customer has multiple libraries, it's important to emphasize that the parm DSN points to the one containing the logger XX members. If multiple UBB parm libraries containing logger XX members exist, and they cannot be specified using system symbolic variables, then each LPAR will have to have a hard-coded parm DSM name. Since an MVI XX member supports only one parm DSN value, each LPAR will require its own MVI XX member. That is, the MVI any shared member can no longer be used. The recommended value for XX is ampersand sysclone, since each LPAR will have its own unique MVI XX member. This also affects the $445 copy member, since this is the job that creates the MVI XX member in the first place. The parameter which specifies the MVI XX suffix is DVA12SFX. Here's an example where the parm DSN parameter cannot use system symbolics to specify the UBB parm names. Similarly, if the sysp variable is different for some LPARs, the same process will have to be followed. For instance, if some LPARs use the default logger only, sysp equals 00 for instance, and some use the logger for auto-operator automation logging, sysp equals 00, AO, then separate MVI XX members will be required. The equivalent of the sysp parameter can be found in the MV logger proc on each system. However, Just because the MV logger proc says sysp equals 00, this does not mean all instances of MV logger use only sysp equals 00. This is because within the logger 00 member, there can be additional logger XX instances specified via the sysp equals parameter. The most reliable way to determine how many log spaces are running is to examine the MV logger proc as it's running on each system, provided it's still available. Here's an example where there is a sysp equal parameter on one system but not on the other. Because of this, the sysp on SND1 must be 00, TA, while the sysp on SND2 is only 00. Because they are different, each system must have a different MVI NGI XX member. As you can see, there are many factors which affect the structure of the new MVI NGI XX member and the logger XX members. If you are a new customer or implementing MainView logging for the first time, the process is fairly straightforward. If you're an existing customer and have been using MV Logger for anything other than default logging, you may contact BMC support for guidance. For more videos on MainView and other BMC solutions, please visit our BMC Mainframe YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/BMC Software Mainframe/featured. That's it for this session. Thank you and see you next time.